speakers. So what's the kind of opportunity that this challenge brings, and how do we step up to the plate? Jeffrey, I'll start with you.
How could you not be optimistic in hearing about that extraordinary testament to the power of expectations and inspiring students to cultivate their faculties of reason to achieve their best potentials can often be done by telling the story of America. There's nothing more inspiring than this glorious story and learning about the constitutional story. So this year is the 150th anniversary of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. That's the amendment that guarantees all persons equal protection of the law and denies any state the power to deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. That was the fulfillment of Jefferson's promise in the Declaration, which was revived by Lincoln with the new birth of freedom at Gettysburg. And it took the Civil War, the bloodiest war in American history, to enshrine it in the Constitution. And then, of course, it didn't become a reality until the Civil Rights Movement and Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Act. These are gloriously inspiring stories, and there is something both empowering and motivating about education in giving students the sense that they have the power to fulfill their dreams. And once you learn about this beautiful history, then you are optimistic about America, because you know how glorious these freedoms are, how they do unite us, and despite all the noise and clamor of social media and polarization and politics, there's this shining core at the center of it, which is our ideals that unite us as Americans.
Next time, I don't want to sit next to Jeff on the panel, okay?
I don't want to sit next to any of you guys, or Wes.
So look, I think it's been a common theme here on stage. I think our greatest asset really is our citizens. And I think it's for each of us to say, how can we use our resources, our influence, our networks, whatever we have to bring to call citizens to action. There isn't a problem out there that citizens banded together can't address and bring to a solution. And I just think we have to bring hope and promise and encourage citizens to get in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt said. And that's going to be the path to get us out of this divide and into addressing opportunity for all.
Wes.
Thank you. I echo that. I mean, I am actually incredibly hopeful, and I hope it didn't come off that I'm not, because, and I think part of the reason that I'm hopeful is that we spend every day in communities with change agents who are doing remarkable things. You know, some people say they'll throw these horrific stats out, and they're like, how do you stay, you know, optimistic despite these stats? And my answer is because I don't live in stats. I live in communities. I live in communities where we're watching single moms who are working multiple jobs and just absolute heroes for their families. I live in communities where we're watching people who are waking up at the crack of dawn and who will meet people every single day with a huge smile on their face. We're living in communities where we're watching ministers and faith leaders and elected officials who every day know that they're living for something bigger than themselves. And so I don't live in stats, I live in communities. And that's why I'm just incredibly hopeful about where we can get to.
So difficult to be here this morning and hear the story of Grace Ho, and that she believes in America and still chose to come to this country. We had on the earlier panel Secretary Albright, not only an immigrant, but a person whose life story and that of her father and her family is a remarkable story, but such an American story. And in addition to that, we have on that panel a former governor and currently our representative to the United Nations, the daughter of Indian immigrants. We had on that panel an African-American woman who grew up in segregated Alabama who rose to the ranks of Secretary of State. All these incredible people we've been hearing from today, we all have a story. I'm an immigrant myself, and my story does not allow me not to believe in America. And what happened in my life, the institutions, the people, the goodness of the American people that I saw in my own life is still here today. And what we have to do is to tap it, to continue to believe in it, and to tell others the way Jeffrey does, you know, in a way that really gets you excited and interested about what our country is. So I think it goes back to the beginning, which is when we said people don't know our institutions. They don't, what Laura spoke about, the fact that she spoke about the need for education about our institutions, about our history, about who we are. And so I'm an irrepressible optimist about America, and I'm glad that I get the last word because no one gets to rebut that.
Well, thank you all.